Hey everybody, Ryan Groffman here with Pilot Rhino. It is 7:48 on January 21st, a Saturday morning, 7:48 a.m. if you can't see out the window. A little gloomy. It is an IFR day if I were flying, but I am taking my IRA exam, my FAA IRA exam, instrument rated airplane or instrument rating airplane. I'm heading to the testing center right now. And by the way, I'm not happy about this. Listen, this is not a political statement. I'm not saying anything. I just haven't worn a mask in like 6 months. And I got an email yesterday that the testing facility is requiring masks. Whatever. I live in Texas. I could have canceled it and taken it somewhere else. The idea of wearing a mask for 2.5 hours while I'm taking a test that I'm already nervous about is less than exciting. But on the other hand, I don't want to wait till Monday, and I'm busy Monday, which means it's Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'm feeling good about my test right now, so I don't want to wait. I want to explain to you kind of my process here and what I would do different, and then we'll be the judge depending on how I score. But I went through the Sporty's course while I've been doing some instrument flying with my CFII. And then when I got serious, I started with the Sheppard Air test prep course. First off, Sporty's course. Super average. Good quality production, Apple TV app, phone app, iPad app. I could watch it on my TV at home, and then later that night it syncs up perfectly with where I'm at with my phone. Really organized, a really good platform. I just don't know if the content really prepares you for the test. I think you have to do it. I think it's something you have to do. You have to do like an overview video course or something to get kind of the overview of what this all means. But I can tell you right now that if all I did was the Sporty's course and then started taking the Sporty's practice tests, I would never have scored well enough on the practice test, and I would never be able to pass this. So I started calling some friends, and I went through, or the Sheppard Air course got recommended to me, and the Sheppard Air study procedure is fantastic. Now again, understand the Sheppard Air is not a course. Well, it's a course, but it's a test prep course. It's not a study course. They're not teaching you anything. What they're gonna do is they're gonna give you all of the possible FAA questions broken down into sections, and then there's a process, a procedure that they want you to go through to learn the answers. And it's a very good process. It's a long process. Like I said, I started this serious in about Thanksgiving when I flew to LA to visit family. I started really going through the Sheppard course on the plane, and then just when I've had time. But like the last 2-3 weeks I got really serious. And the reason I got really serious is I made a promise to myself that as soon as I finish the wings on the RV10, I'm gonna take the wings into storage so I had more room in the garage, and I'm going to receive the fuselage kit, and I am not going to do anything except inventory and organize the fuselage. No more work on the airplane until I pass the written. So I'm looking at all of my airplane parts in the garage, and I really want to work on them, and I haven't worked on them because I made a promise, and I'm going to pass the written today. But the point I'm making is Sporty's course, average. Sheppard Air course, fantastic. Now, what I'm telling my neighbor buddy, who just got his private and will be probably starting his instrument work in the next 6 months or so, is me personally doing this all again. I would take a live, in-person instrument prep course, like with an instructor. There's just too many concepts that, even though I read the explanations in the Sheppard Air, and the explanations are fantastic, there's too many concepts that are really confusing until they're not confusing. I'm a business coach, and one of my clients said this to me like 10 years ago, and I use it all the time. I love it. It's hard until it's not hard. It's like riding a bike. So what I would say is I wasted a lot of time on probably 15 or 20 concepts which equate to probably about 100 questions, maybe 200 questions, because they're related to where you are on a map, looking at a VOR, centering VOR needles. And I know we do all this in private pilot, but it's taken to a whole nother level here. Entering holding patterns at teardrops, parallels, or directs, all that kind of stuff. It's like, I just needed to ask someone a question. And again, Sporties, you can call a CFI, no problem, they'll do it, I've done it. Sheppard Air, you can call the CFI, and I had to do it a few times. But my point is, I wanted someone to banter with. I wanted someone to be like, wait. Are you, that's what they're asking? I don't understand why they're asking that. Oh, they're asking that because of the, oh, okay. So that would be my suggestion. If I could do it all again, I would probably still do the Sporties course, give myself an overview. Then I would probably take like a weekend boot camp, and then I would go through the Sheppard Air stuff. And I feel like you would be ready to rock. So I'll let you guys know as soon as I pass the test here what my score is. I can tell you that when I took the Sheppard Air practice test, which you need to take to get a CFI endorsement, or if you go through a ground school, they'll give it to you that way. Anyways, the point is, I got a 59 out of 60. And the reason I got a 59 out of 60 and not a 60 out of 60 is the one question I got wrong was about VOR, or entering a holding pattern. And it was entering a pattern on the line between parallel and direct. And the order of operations, the preferred order is, it was on the line between teardrop and parallel. Sorry. The order is direct entry first, then teardrop, then parallel. That's what the FAA deems to be the least amount of confusion, the least amount of turns, and the safest. So if you're ever on a line, the order is direct first, then teardrop, then parallel. So my course was intercepting a hold right on the radial of teardrop and parallel. So I chose teardrop. That is 100% definitively the correct answer according to the AIM. And it got it wrong. So when I read I'll put it up on the screen here, I have a picture of it. When I read the Sheppard Air description or the explainer, the last sentence basically says, and you can read it up here, that even though teardrop is correct, the FAA is scoring it as parallel. So, god damn it, the FAA doesn't even have all of their questions answered correctly. And I'm not even going to get into this video about how complicated some of the questions are written. I believe that, one, the questions are written, 50% of the questions are written so poorly that I think they're doing it on purpose. Number two, some of the answers are written so poorly that I think they're doing it on purpose. And then number three, some of the answers don't even score correctly, even when you get it right. There's a couple others on where you have to calculate fuel burn and time leg and all that stuff for a diversion. And every time I do it in the sample test, I come up with an answer, and then every time I get it wrong, and when I read the explanation, the FAA is scoring the correct answer wrong. So that's really frustrating. But again, FAA, if you're out there, I'd love to chat with you about how you can write these tests better. I'm sure you don't care. That's fine. My guess is you have hired people who don't know anything about flying, who will never be instrument rated, who don't care about being instrument rated. My guess is you've hired someone with a master's degree in testology, something, and you've hired them to write you test questions, and they suck. So, with all of that said, I'm about 15 minutes away from my test center. I'm an hour early. I'm going to grab a Breakfast of Champions. One of my favorites is a Egg McMuffin, or no, not an Egg McMuffin, I'm sorry, a Sausage McMuffin from McDonald's. I love those things. And then I'm going to sit in the parking lot and do some final review here and put on my mask and go take my test. Next time you see me, I will have passed the IRA written. Have a wonderful day.
3 hours later.
All right, I passed. I hated every moment of being in that testing center. The woman was terrible. The facility was fine, but the mask thing, I mean, literally, like, Couldn't bring my own pencils in, which is fine. Wouldn't let me bring a pencil sharpener in. I couldn't bring backup batteries to my E6B, which what pilot wouldn't fly with backup batteries? Well, what pilot still flies with an E6B? But point is, I hated every second of it. Plus, I prepared for, I'll give you my score in a second, but in my head, I completely prepared for all of the VOR stuff. Where are you in relation to this? What do you need to do to center the needle? What type of holding pattern entries, etc. Because that's the stuff I wanted, because that's the stuff that's black or white. I at first didn't want that stuff because it was hard, but I studied it, I got good at it, and that's the stuff I wanted. And none of it showed up on my test. None of it showed up on my test. My entire test was made up of all of the theoretical, weather, wishy-washy questions where all three answers could have been correct, which is why I scored an 88. So I think I got 6 or 7 wrong, but I passed. I'm telling you right now, if I got more of those, whatever, the stuff that really matters to me. So I feel like I have a good grasp of the information. I passed. I still stand by my original statement of, I think taking a class and doing it that way would be great. But again, I scored worse than I planned, but I passed at an 88. I think that's still a good score. I'm happy with it. I'm headed to the airport right now. My instructor is taking my buddy flying. I'm going to go hand it to him, and then we're going to put together our plans to wipe out our last 15 hours or so of flying and get in all of our approaches and prepare for the oral and practical. Take it easy, guys.